Hi, I'm Kathy with the Delafield Quilt Company. Today I'm going to show you how to make Creative Grids Log Cabin Trim Tool 2. This tool allows you to make two different sizes, either a 12-inch or a 6-inch block, and also has some different varieties that you can choose from. Today I'm going to show you how to use this tool to make the 6-inch log cabin block. I hope you enjoy the tutorial. So to make this log cabin, we're going to use the 6-inch part of this tool. What's nice about this tool is that you can use the 12-inch or you could do the 6-inch. You can also do a regular log cabin, a courthouse steps, or a half log cabin with this. You don't need much to create these. For the 6-inch one, you're going to need 1.5-inch strips of both lights and darks. I've already pre-cut these. And I know that this is going to be only a 6.5-inch unfinished block, so I just went a little bit beyond that when cutting my strips. And then you need a 2-inch square for the very center. Okay, let's get started. So the first thing I want to do is lay out my 2-inch square, and then I'm going to start stacking the logs. I'm going to sew on the first pieces. So I'm going to start with the small one, and I'm going to go a little bit beyond both of these edges, and I'm just going to trim this off. And then I'm just going to sew that down. When you're sewing this, you just want to use a 1/4-inch seam allowance. Once you've got your first strip on, then you're going to want to press it towards the strip, so away from the center. So your seam is going towards the strip. And I'm going to go ahead and add my next light strip. And I'm just sewing along the last one sewn. And I'm going to again do a 1/4-inch sewing seam. Okay, again, you are going to press the seam away from the center one. So I'm just going to press that open then. Okay, before I go on, I'm just going to trim up these edges because I want to make sure I'm lining up my darks next to it. So I'm just going to take a straight edge ruler for this one. Make sure that you square it up with your 2-inch square on the bottom. And then I'm just going to trim the extra piece off. I'm going to worry about the rest of it later. Okay, now since this was the last one sewn on, that's where I'm going to start then. And I'm going to sew the first dark log on top of that. Again, we're going to press the seam away from the center square. And I'm just going to trim this piece again using my straight edge. And then I'm going to sew on the second dark strip. And I'm going to press this again away from the center block. Okay, now this is when we bring in our ruler. So we've got our first 2 darks and our first 2 lights. And then we're going to use the ruler to trim as we go for the rest of it. So I'm going to start with the lower dark square here, the black outline, and I'm going to line that right over the 2-inch center square, which is now technically 1.5. And then I'm going to trim the edge. I'm going to rotate it around. This is where if you have a rotating cutting board, it's very helpful for this. Again, I'm using that first dark square on the ruler. Line it up with the center, and then trim the other 2 edges. Alright, so now we've got our first little center of the block. I'm going to add the next row. I'm going to start with the light again. Pressing the seam away from the center. And if you want, you can trim this off if you're having trouble lining up. I'm going to try to wing it. And I'm just going to sew on the second one here. got my second light strip sewn on. I'm going to just trim it a little bit just because it's a little long. Okay, and then you're going to start with your next dark strip. Again, I'm going to line this up and do a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, then you're going to sew on your second piece, just like we did before. And then we'll come back and trim it again. Okay, now that we've got the next row sewn on, we're going to move 1 square over and up. And that's going to actually be the white square, and that's going to cover the center square again. And then we're going to trim along the edges like we did before. Again, line up that center square once you've turned it, and then trim off the other edges. Okay, 1 more row of lights and darks, and then we should be done with this one. So again, if you're wondering where to start on this, just look for the last piece that you sewed on, and then we'll start at the top of that. And just like before, we're going to repeat that process, and we're going to sew on the second white strip, and then we'll move on to the last 2 dark strips. Okay, we've got our last dark strip sewn on, and now we're ready to trim it to get to the final square. So now we've moved 1 square over, and we're going to use this last black square that's right in the center of the 6-inch part of the template. Again, line that up with your starting square and trim your edges. Okay, and that's how you use the Creative Grids Log Cabin Trim Tool. I'm using the trim tool number 2, and I use the 6-inch log cabin trim tool portion of this ruler. Hope you enjoyed today's tutorial. If you like this video, please subscribe and visit us at www.delafieldquiltco.com. Thank you. Have a great day.